My name is Nicole Long, and as a part of a fall 2019 environmental studies course called Understanding Place, I created this poster on dams in the McKenzie Watershed. My question for this project was, how do the dams on the McKenzie River affect the environment of the watershed? For this project, I narrowed in on the impacts of the Cougar Dam, especially how it reduces native fish habitat. It is important to understand the impacts of the Cougar Dam on the McKenzie River because it is the largest hydro project in the watershed. The McKenzie River is a designated wild and scenic river, but only 13 miles of the river is actually under this designation. To be wild and scenic, a river needs to have natural, cultural, and recreational values and be in a free-flowing condition. Why is such a short section wild and scenic when the river is actually 90 miles long? It is because of the dams. The McKenzie River is a river at work, producing power and keeping us from being underwater during floods. It is important to understand how our harnessing of the river affects its natural ecological functions. We can understand the wider environmental impacts of the dams by looking specifically at how the Cougar Dam affects habitat for salmonids such as spring chinook and lamprey. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers owns 2 of the dam systems on the McKenzie, including the Cougar Dam. This dam is the tallest dam in Oregon. These dams are built for flood control, and the Cougar Dam has saved over $450 million in flood damages. The Eugene Water and Electricity Board, or EWEB, owns the other 2 dam systems, which were built to provide hydroelectric power. My methods for this project included research conducted at observational site visits to all 4 dam systems. I also conducted 2 semi-structured interviews. One interview was with the McKenzie River guide, who I chose to speak with because he is someone who has relied on the river for an income and therefore intimately knows it. I also interviewed a staff member of the McKenzie Watershed Council, and I chose to talk with her because her work involves mitigating the effects of dams, especially that of the cougar. I supplemented my observations and interviews with literature research. Through my research, I found that the Cougar Dam has 4 main impacts on native fish habitat. The first impact is that the dam is a fish passage barrier. The dams on the McKenzie have cut salmonids off from over 20 miles of their ancestral spawning habitat. The Cougar Dam has no fish ladders and is 519 feet tall. This is only 85 feet shorter than the Space Needle. This prevents salmon from reaching their natal streams to spawn. The second impact involves temperature. We usually hear about dams causing rivers to be too warm for salmon, but the Cougar Reservoir is so large at 219,000 acre-feet that it causes temperatures to be too cold. However, a temperature control tower was built in 2002 to help mitigate this impact. The third impact is that the reservoir stores sediment, and sediment can retain contaminants such as the now banned pesticide DDT. When contaminants like DDT are released into the watershed, important species such as mayflies and caddisflies are killed off as a result, affecting food sources for salmonids. The fourth impact is that the reservoir disrupts debris flows of gravel and wood, which simplifies the river system and then reduces side channel habitat for fish to spawn and take refuge. Salmon are crucial for ecosystem health. They are an indicator species, meaning that the overall health of the ecosystem can be seen by the health of the individual species. An entire food chain is dependent on salmon. And as you can see in these photos, especially the bottom photo, the blue line indicates ancestral spawning habitat of salmon that is completely blocked by the Cougar Dam, relating to that first impact I discussed. The picture on the top shows the temperature control tower, which was built as a result of the reservoir causing temperatures to be too cold. So in conclusion, the dams on the McKenzie, especially the cougar, have drastically reduced or altered habitat for native fish in the watershed, which affects the rest of the ecosystem. However, organizations like the McKenzie Watershed Council and EWEB and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are doing work to mitigate these effects, such as the South Fork Restoration Project, the Temperature Control Tower, and fish passage infrastructure renovation. Learning how to use dams ethically is necessary to mitigate their effects, and I think a focus should especially be placed on restoring fish habitat below the dams. I have done past research on other dams and the possibility of dam removal on other rivers. I used to feel strongly that we do not really need dams and that they all do more harm than good. However, this project has shown me that some dams are necessary, and on the McKenzie, the dams are a reality. The power they produce is carbon-free, and without them, Eugene and Springfield would be underwater during floods. I have come away from this project with a better understanding of how we can balance our human needs and the needs of the non-human environment. I would like to thank Jennifer Weber and Steve Shakers for giving me their time and knowledge in our interviews. I would also like to thank all of the guest speakers who came to our classroom and our field trips. I would also like to thank my professor, Katie Lynch, our GE Sasha White, my classmates, the Environmental Studies program, and the Undergraduate Research Symposium.